Stop scrolling. Just for a moment. Look at your hand. Look at the screen. Now ask yourself a question that terrifies most people. When was the last time you truly thought? Not reacted, not repeated something you heard on a podcast, not defended an opinion you inherited from your parents or your political tribe. I mean thought. Deep, painful, original, critical analysis that challenged your own existence. You can't remember, can you? You are living in an age where critical thinking is not just discouraged, it is biologically and socially extinguished. You feel it in your conversations. You feel it in the hollow echo of social media debates. You feel it when you try to focus on a complex idea and your brain rebels, craving the next hit of dopamine, the next notification, the next simplification. You are drowning in information, yet starving for wisdom. Most gurus will tell you to optimize your brain. They will sell you nootropics, morning routines, and mindfulness apps. They lie. They treat the symptom, not the disease. The disease is not your lack of focus. The disease is the structure of your mind itself. 200 years ago, Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, saw this coming. He understood that the human intellect was not designed for truth. It was designed for survival. It was designed to serve your desires, not your clarity. Today, we are going to dissect why your ability to think critically is vanishing. We are not going to offer you false hope. We are not going to tell you that you can fix humanity. Instead, we are going to offer you something far more valuable, the liberating truth about why you are surrounded by intellectual darkness and how the intelligent few can survive it. You weren't built to be happy. You were built to want, and wanting is the enemy of thinking. Welcome to the echo of thought. Let's descend. Here is the first brutal truth you must accept. You are not the captain of your ship. You are the passenger. Schopenhauer divided the human psyche into two fundamental forces, the will and the intellect. The will is the blind, striving force that wants life, survival, reproduction, and status. The intellect? The intellect is merely the lamp carried by the will to find its way in the dark. Schopenhauer wrote, "The intellect has become a slave to the will." Think about the last time you were in an argument. Maybe it was about politics, maybe about religion, maybe about something trivial like where to eat dinner. Did you approach that conversation with a genuine desire to find the truth, or did you approach it with a desire to win? Your brain lit up not with logic, but with defense mechanisms. You scanned for weaknesses in their argument to protect your ego. You ignored evidence that contradicted your view. This is not a bug in your system, it is a feature. Modern psychology calls this confirmation bias. Schopenhauer called it the servitude of the intellect. Your critical thinking vanishes the moment your survival instincts kick in. And in the modern world, social status is survival. Being wrong feels like death, so you stop thinking critically and start thinking defensively. You believe you are analyzing the world. In reality, you are rationalizing your desires. You want to believe your career path is meaningful, so your intellect constructs arguments why it is. You want to believe your relationship is healthy, so your intellect ignores the red flags. Schopenhauer observed, "Everyone takes the limits of his own vision for the limits of the world." This is why critical thinking is vanishing. It is too expensive biologically. True critical thinking requires you to suspend your will. It requires you to admit you might be wrong. It requires you to face the possibility that your life's work is meaningless. Most people cannot afford this cost. They need the illusion of certainty to get out of bed in the morning. So when you see people spouting nonsense, when you see the degradation of public discourse, do not be surprised, do not be angry. Understand the mechanism. The intellect is tired, it is overworked, serving the endless demands of the will. You are not lazy, you are biologically engineered to prioritize survival over truth. Accept this. It is the first step towards reclaiming your mind. But if the intellect is a servant, why does it feel like you are the master? That illusion is where the trap deepens.
You think your opinions are yours. You think your values are chosen. But look closer. Where did you learn what is good? Where did you learn what is successful? You downloaded them. You installed them from your culture, your school, your algorithmic feed. Schopenhauer had a profound disdain for the spirit of the times. He knew that the majority of human thought is merely imitation. He wrote, "The majority of men are not capable of any independent thought. They must have ready-made opinions supplied to them." This is why critical thinking is vanishing. It is being replaced by consensus thinking. It is easier to borrow a thought than to create one. Creating a thought requires solitude. It requires risk. It requires the possibility of being ostracized. Psychology calls this social conformity. The Asch conformity experiments showed that people will deny the evidence of their own eyes just to agree with the group. You are no different. When you see a mob forming online, your brain screams at you to join them. To dissent is to risk exile, and in the ancestral environment, exile meant death. So you suppress your critical faculty. You nod. You share the article without reading it. You use the buzzwords without understanding their meaning. You become an echo chamber participant rather than a thinker. Schopenhauer warned us, original thought is rare because it requires the courage to stand alone. Think about the last time you held a controversial opinion, not a performative one, but a real one. Did you speak it, or did you swallow it? You swallowed it. You felt the physical tension in your chest. That was your will protecting you from the herd. The vanishing of critical thinking is not an accident. It is a social immune response. The herd attacks the thinker because the thinker threatens the cohesion of the group. Critical thinking is disruptive. It asks questions that the group cannot answer. Schopenhauer himself was ignored for decades. His books were used as doorstops. Why? Because he refused to think like his contemporaries. He refused to participate in the optimism of Hegel. He chose truth over popularity. You must ask yourself, are you thinking, or are you just remembering what you were told to think? The difference is everything. One is freedom, the other is slavery.
Here is the most dangerous phenomenon of the modern age, the belief that you understand things you do not. Schopenhauer noted that fools are always ready to speak while the wise are hesitant. Today, this has been amplified by the Internet. You have access to all human knowledge in your pocket, which convinces you that you possess all human wisdom. You do not. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Schopenhauer explained it long before psychology named it. He said, "The least intelligent people are the most certain, because they do not know enough to know they are wrong." Critical thinking requires metacognition, thinking about your thinking. It requires you to assess the limits of your knowledge. But the vanishing of critical thinking means people have lost the ability to measure their own ignorance. You see this in every comment section. You see this in every boardroom. People speak with absolute conviction about economics, biology, philosophy, and geopolitics, having read 3 headlines and watched 1 video essay. Why is this happening? Because uncertainty is painful. To say, "I do not know," is to admit weakness. The will demands certainty. It demands a narrative it can hold on to. So you fabricate competence. You pretend to understand. Schopenhauer wrote, "Truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as self-evident." We are stuck in the second stage. Critical thinking is violently opposed by the illusion of competence. When you try to introduce nuance, you are attacked. When you try to introduce doubt, you are called weak. The herd prefers a confident liar to a hesitant truth-teller. You must recognize this in yourself. When you feel that surge of certainty, that rush of righteousness, stop. That is not intelligence. That is your will protecting your ego. True critical thinking feels like uncertainty. It feels like walking on ice. It feels dangerous. If your thinking feels comfortable and certain, you are not thinking. You are reciting.
You cannot think if you cannot focus, and your focus is being stolen. Schopenhauer lived in a quieter world, but he understood the fragility of the intellect. He knew that deep thought requires a withdrawal from the world. It requires silence. Today, silence is extinct. Your attention is the currency of the modern economy. Every app, every news outlet, every advertiser is fighting for a slice of your cognitive bandwidth. They are not selling you products, they are selling your attention to someone else. Neuroscience tells us that context switching destroys cognitive performance. Every time you check your phone, you fracture your thought process. You never reach the depth required for critical analysis. You stay on the surface. Schopenhauer warned, reading is merely a surrogate for thinking for oneself. Today, we do not even read. We scroll. We consume fragments. We ingest opinions without digestion. Your mind is bloated with information, but malnourished on understanding. Critical thinking is vanishing because the conditions for thinking are vanishing. You need boredom to think. You need empty space, but you fill every second with noise. You are terrified of your own mind. Why are you terrified? Because in the silence, the will speaks. In the silence, you hear your anxieties. You hear the truth about your mortality. So you turn on the podcast. You turn on the TV. You drown out the voice of reason with the noise of distraction. You are complicit in the destruction of your own intellect. You hand over your attention willingly because the alternative is too painful. But without attention, there is no thought. Without thought, there is no freedom.
So, what is the solution? Do not look for a hack. Do not look for an app. The solution is negative. It is about what you must stop doing. Schopenhauer's philosophy is often called a philosophy of denial. To think critically, you must deny the will. You must deny the urge to conform. You must deny the urge for certainty. Here is the path for the intelligent few. First, you must embrace solitude. Schopenhauer said, "Solitude is the fate of all great souls." You cannot think critically in a crowd. You must isolate yourself from the noise. This means physically leaving spaces and digitally leaving platforms.
Second, you must practice silence. Not just external silence, but internal silence. Stop the commentary in your head. Stop judging everything you see. Observe first, analyze later. Third, you must cultivate skepticism. Not cynicism. Cynicism is just pessimism with an attitude. Skepticism is the suspension of judgment. When you hear a claim, do not accept it. Do not reject it. Hold it. Examine it. This is hard. It is exhausting. You will be lonely. People will call you arrogant. They will say you are overthinking. Let them. Schopenhauer wrote, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." Critical thinking is a discipline of subtraction. You subtract the opinions of others. You subtract the noise of the media. You subtract the demands of your ego. What is left? That is where the truth hides. You will not become a genius overnight, but you will become free. You will stop being a puppet. You will start being a person. We arrive at the final implication. If critical thinking is vanishing, and you choose to cultivate it, you are choosing isolation. This is not a tragedy. This is liberation. Most people fear being alone with their thoughts. They need the herd to validate their existence. But you are learning to validate yourself through the rigor of your own mind. Schopenhauer offers us a stark choice. Either you belong to the crowd and suffer the pain of stupidity, or you stand apart and suffer the pain of loneliness. There is no third option. But the pain of loneliness is clean. It is yours. The pain of the crowd is chaotic. It is borrowed misery. When you accept that critical thinking is rare, you stop expecting it from others. You stop getting angry when people lie. You stop getting frustrated when people contradict themselves. You realize they cannot do otherwise. Their will not allow it. This acceptance is peace. You protect your mind like a fortress. You let only the best ideas in. You reject the rest. You become difficult to manipulate. You become dangerous to the status quo. Schopenhauer concluded, the highest wisdom is to deny the will. To deny the will is to stop striving for approval, to stop striving for certainty, to stop striving for happiness, and in that stopping, you find the space to think. Critical thinking is not a skill, it is a way of being. It is a rebellion against the biological and social forces that want you to be a machine. You are not a machine, but you must fight to prove it every day. Here is the final truth. Critical thinking is vanishing because the world does not want thinkers. It wants workers. It wants consumers. It wants believers. Thinking is dangerous. Thinking disrupts the economy. Thinking disrupts the hierarchy. You now know why you feel so tired. You now know why conversations feel so hollow. You now know why the world feels so insane. It is not you, it is the structure of reality. But you have a choice. You can close this video and go back to the scroll. You can let the will drive you back into the herd. Or you can keep this tension. You can keep this discomfort. Schopenhauer did not promise you happiness. He promised you truth. And truth is the only thing that makes the suffering of existence bearable. Accept it. Most people are intellectually limited. Accept it. Most people cannot think critically. Accept it. You are alone in this. And in that acceptance, you are free. Stop fighting reality. Accept it. Then think.
If this video resonated with the darkness you feel, if it articulated the silence you hear, then you are part of the minority. We need to know who is still thinking. Write in the comments, "It made sense to me." Do not write an essay. Do not argue. Just mark your presence. Let us see how many of us are left. Subscribe to Echo of Thought. We do not offer hope, we offer clarity. We do not offer light, we offer the lantern to see the dark. Turn off the screen, go into the silence, and think.